Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Albaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Albaugh.
Good morning across the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. I'm Todd Albaugh. It is Tuesday, the 18th of April, 2023. Welcome into hour number 2 of the big program. Glad to have you along with us. The phone lines are open, 715-388-7155. Again, area code 715-388-7155. We'd love to hear your thoughts on our top news story this morning. Overnight breaking, according to Wisconsin State Journal's Kimberly Wethall, President Jay Rothman putting, quote, all options on the table in terms of not just UW-Richland, but all 12 of the 2-year branch campuses across the state of Wisconsin in the UW system. Everything is on the table. Finally says the words. Of course, he's couching it with, let's be creative and find a way to all get along. But if you look at the language, you look at the history, it's pretty clear. Because Jay Rothman won't even tell us exactly what led to and the reasons for the setup and the closure at Richland. No campus across this state should trust the words right now of UW System President Jay Rothman until they are transparent with the public, with the taxpayers, and let us know exactly why Richland was set up for failure. By system? By the Republican legislators? Who? We want to know. And until he does that, no one should trust a thing Jay Rothman says. This hour, we'll talk a little bit more about that. I want to just button it up a little bit on the campus and the future of the campus, assuming that it's no longer going to be a UW institution. One of the most egregious, terrible things I can think of is for that property to be redeveloped into some sort of Pottersville from It's a Wonderful Life with quote-unquote low-income housing. Tear the buildings down, sell them off. Because once you lose those buildings, that theater, those institutions, they're gone forever. Find a creative way for economic development long-term. There are empty lots and lots in Richland Center that need to be reconstructed for housing. And you certainly don't want to make a Pottersville in Richland County, Richland Center. And don't call it low-income housing. It's called affordable housing. You make it sound like it's some sort of poverty-stricken area. Well, I mean, it is poverty-stricken. You make it sound like you're going to create like this, terrible place for people to live. You integrate, that's called urban planning, for those of you who don't know. You take and you put affordable housing in with other residential areas so that everybody has equal access to the things the city enjoys. And you certainly don't bull down the buildings that are down already there. Lots of work to do in Richland County. Don't let go of the gem that is the campus itself. We may be losing UW System in Richland Center, but we don't have to lose the campus too. There are other options, private universities out there, Upper Iowa University, Phoenix University. Talk to other technical colleges. I know Southwest Tech isn't particularly interested in expanding in Richland Center, but talk to others. Talk to startup enterprises. Talk to the Worm Farm over in Reedsburg. Lots of other great uses for that property besides just bulldozing it down and making redevelopment. Weather forecast for you. Speaking of Richland Center. For today, sunny skies. A high near 52 degrees. Beautiful day on tap today in Richland Center. Tonight, partly clear. A chance of showers, low of 32. Tomorrow, Wednesday, expect a high near 56 degrees in Richland Center. 56 under cloudy skies tomorrow. Going up to you, Wausau, WXCO, Bull Falls, Radioland. For today, sunny skies, a high of 48. Mostly clear tonight, a low of 26. Then for Wednesday, a bit more chilly, down to 41 degrees. A wintry mix, 80% chance of a wintry mix of ice and snow and rain. Not a pleasant day in Wausau for tomorrow. Today in Amory, WLAK, Lake Air Radio, Northwest Wisconsin, sunny skies, 48 degrees in Amory today. For tonight, partly cloudy, a chance of showers, a low of 30. And tomorrow, Wednesday, breezy, rain, freezing rain, snow showers, a miserable day weather-wise, a high of 42 degrees up at Amory today. So as Kara Foster said at the bottom of this hour, get out and enjoy the nice weather today. I will clearly be taking a walk after this show. It's disconcerting, right? I don't mind sharing my passion once in a while with you because I care. I care what happens to this state. I care what happens to the people of Wisconsin. That's why I got into politics. I didn't do it for the conventions and the dinners and all that horse hockey. I did it because done right, government can actually help people. Politicians can be public servants when done right. And there are numerous examples of that on both the Republican and the Democratic side. But right now in this state, we have a lack of leadership. And there's certainly a lack of leadership nationally when it comes to gun control. And we will talk about that as well. Stay with us. This is the Todd Allball Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. The Todd Allball Show. It is now 9:15 on a Tuesday morning, April 18th, 2023. Welcome your calls this morning, 715-388-7155. Again, area code 715-388-7155. We'd love to hear your thoughts on UW Richland or the campuses at large or the state of public and higher education in Wisconsin. Also in terms of the attack by Republicans on said education in Wisconsin. 715-388-7155. Again, area code 715-388-7155. Other news this morning, and we'll see. I'll give you a couple of headlines. We'll see if we get to all of these. The Dominion lawsuit with Fox News. We talked about this yesterday. Dominion has decided to push forward, and good for them. Trial will resume, or probably already has resumed this morning, or started this morning. Dominion, the vote machine company who is suing Fox for defamation, proving malice. In other words, as our friend Matt Flynn of Matt Flynn Direct at 3 o'clock every afternoon here on Civic Media likes to remind us, malice is when you know something's not true, but yet you say it anyway, repeatedly. Fox News and its hosts like Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham and others, they knew that Trump had lost the 2020 election. They knew that President Joe Biden had won the 2020 election. They knew that the vote was not rigged. But yet they continue. And why do we know this? Because much of this has already been leaked. Emails back and forth between each other. Phone calls, texts. They knew it. Despite what they try to tell you on television and on the radio shows, they don't believe any of that stuff. They do it for show business. To get you ginned up. I'm a little ginned up this morning, but it's all for honest reasons. Factually proven things. Folks on Fox just like to do it to gin you up, period, to make more money. So the Dominion voting company said, you know what, we've lost a lot of business since you said those lies about our voting machine, so we're going to sue you for defamation. And Fox yesterday apparently threw out an out-of-court settlement to try to stop this trial and these things from coming out in public. And Dominion held firm and said, no, we're moving forward. So that trial is going on this morning. Also, the American journalist being held in Russia was denied an appeal this morning. That is going on, making headlines this morning. And we'll get to Ron DeSantis in a little while. But first, here's the other thing that has me pretty hot this morning. Headline in CNN this morning, no words were exchanged before a white homeowner shot a black teen who rang his doorbell, according to statements to police. This is the situation down in Kansas City over the weekend, where a 16-year-old kid, a model student, by all accounts, a musician, was asked to go pick up his younger siblings by his parents and went to the wrong address and rang the doorbell, and this dude comes out and shoots the kid without ever saying a word. Pick up the story. A white 84-year-old homeowner charged with shooting Ralph Yari after the black teen went to the wrong Kansas City address to pick up his siblings, told police they did not exchange words before he fired at him through a locked glass door. Homeowner Andrew Lester, who faces 2 felony charges for assault in the first degree and armed criminal action, told police he fired immediately after answering the doorbell when he saw a 16-year-old Ralph pulling an exterior door handle, according to the probable cause document obtained by CNN. Lester thought Ralph, or so he says, was trying to break in and, quote, was scared to death due to the boy's size, according to the document. Looked at several pictures of this kid. He is a musician. I was a musician. It's not like a 6'4" football player build.
He looked completely normally sized to me in seeing the pictures of him like in band sitting next to other kids.
Exactly. Like me. Kind of a band geek. Thin, not overly muscular, not overly tall. But guess what he is? He's black. He's black. The screen door was locked. The kid rang the doorbell and allegedly put his hand on the door handle. The guy didn't even open up the door. Shot the kid through the door twice. Officers responded just before 10 p.m. after receiving reports of a shooting. When they arrived, they found Ralph wounded in the street. The shooting left Ralph, who plays the bass clarinet and is a band leader in school, with gunshot wounds to his head and arm. While he was hospitalized, Ralph told police he did not pull on the door, according to the documents. It was, quote, nothing short of a miracle, unquote, that Ralph was discharged from the hospital, his attorney Ben Crump told CNN on Monday. But he's not out of the woods yet. CNN has not been able to reach the homeowner. No lawyers were listed in a booking report. The shooting fueled protests in Kansas City and stirred memories of Trayvon Martin and Ahmaud Arbery, 2 young black men who were gunned down by assailants who later claimed self-defense. Demonstrators have marched through Kansas City chanting "Justice for Ralph" and calling for the shooter's arrest. The shooting also came days before a 20-year-old woman was shot and killed in upstate New York after she and 3 others accidentally turned into the wrong driveway. Turned into the wrong driveway. How many of us have been looking for something to pick somebody up, to pick up something you bought in Prime Mover in Richland Center on WRCO in the morning on Saturdays? Or just turn around. Pulled into the wrong driveway and were shot. While Ralph's attorney says the teen never posed a threat to the shooter, it remains unclear whether Missouri's Stand Your Ground law will be cited in Lester's defense case. Oh, that's great. Stand your ground. Stand your ground. The law allows people to respond to threats or force without fear of criminal prosecution in any place where a person has the right to be. Stand your ground laws. In other words, I mean, it's not completely directly said, but if someone's breaking into your home and you're in bed and you see some person standing in your entryway, yeah, you got a right to protect yourself. The screen door was locked. This person faced no threat at all. And he shot him twice. Quote, back to the story now, quote, there was a racial component to this case, Clay County prosecuting attorney Zachary Thompson has said without elaborating. Well, you have to have a reason to say that. Maybe when the guy was describing to police what happened, maybe he used the N-word to describe the 16-year-old high school kid musician. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. I mean, why would the police say there is a racial component to this case? Maybe when the police went in to the guy's house, maybe he has a bunch of racist material everywhere. Maybe he's a Proud Boy. I don't say this lightly, and I don't believe in the death penalty that often, but maybe we should put this fat white dude's butt in a chair and turn on old Sparky and let all the Proud Boys watch. And let the white national supremacists watch. Because that's the only thing that seems to get through to these people. Violence and death. Watch this old 84-year-old man's butt fry. Maybe that'll get through to him. That the race hating and the gun violence in this country has to end. Maybe that's what it'll take. 715-388-7155. You think it went too far? Give me a call. Tell me, defend this guy. 715-388-7155. I want to hear from you. 715-388-7155. I say fry this guy.
Well, to be fair, they said there's a racial component and did not elaborate. We don't have any idea what that means. Maybe that's just that they're acknowledging that he's an old white guy and it was a black kid that got shot.
Could be.
Possible.
Could be. But the door was locked. This guy shot this kid through a door.
Oh, yeah, it's inexcusable. I'm just saying we don't necessarily know that he is a Nazi or something. We have no idea.
That's true. Thank you, Aaron, for protecting our FCC license. Allegedly. Lester, the shooter, the alleged shooter, was not in custody as of Monday night, though a warrant has been issued for his arrest, according to authorities. On the night of the shooting, Lester was taken into custody and was released. Less than 2 hours later. Do you think that would have happened if it would have been reversed? Do you think if the 16-year-old black kid had shot the 84-year-old white guy that he would have been released after 2 hours?
Or if it was an 84-year-old black man and a 16-year-old white kid.
Yeah. No way. Two representatives at the Kansas City Police Department Detention Unit previously told that information to reporters. Lester was released because police recognized that more investigative work needed to be done. Attorney Crump, representing the kid, said it makes no sense that the shooter hasn't been arrested. Quote, nobody can tell us if the roles were reversed, exactly what we were saying, Mr. Zommers, and you had a black man shoot a white 16-year-old teenager for merely ringing his doorbell, that he would not be arrested. I mean, this citizen went home and slept in his bed at night after shooting that young black kid in the head, Crump told CNN. He merely rang the doorbell. That was it, the teen's attorney said. And the owner of the home shoots through the door, hitting him in the head, and then shoots him a second time. What in God's name is wrong with people? And I don't want to hear about, he was 84. I know. The president of the United States is 80. Donald J. Trump, the Republican presumed nominee, is 80. You don't get off just because you're a certain age, because you're going around shooting kids. Doesn't let you off. Back with more after this. 715-388-7155. This is the Todd Allball Show, and this is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. There's a shadow hanging over me. Oh, yesterday came suddenly. Why?
Welcome back to the Todd Allball Show. It is now 9:33 on a Tuesday. What happened to the America we grew up in, if you're of a certain age? What happened to walking across the street and asking, can we borrow a cup of sugar or a couple of eggs? Mom's making cookies. And you just knock on the doorbell. Or knock on the door, ring the doorbell. What happened to the time in America where you got lost before we had GPS and smartphones? And you pulled over and you went up to somebody's house and you knocked and say, hey, can you tell me how to find the local hospital? I'm lost. It was called being an American and helping out your neighbors. It was based in the so-called Judeo-Christian faith that this country was founded on, that the Republicans like to talk so much about. There was a time in this country where people sat on their front porches and waved at one another and had long conversations. And now we're cloistered in our homes behind locked doors and pulled curtains, staring into the abyss of our smartphones, our screens, our devices, petrified that our doorbell might ring. And the first reaction is to grab a gun, and when we open the door and see someone that doesn't look like us, to shoot them. Back to this story on CNN this morning, how the shooting unfolded. Before the shooting, Lester, the alleged shooter, was lying down in bed when he heard the doorbell ring, and he picked up his .32 caliber revolver, he told police, according to the probable cause statement. So again, the first reaction you have when your doorbell rings is to pick up your loaded gun. He then went to his home's front entrance, which includes an interior door and a glass exterior door, both of which were locked. Lester opened the interior door and, quote, saw a black male approximately 6 feet tall pulling on the exterior storm door handle, unquote, Lester told police, which again, the kid says is not true, that he was not pulling on the handle. Quote, he stated he believed someone was attempting to break into the house and shot twice within a few seconds of opening the door, according to the probable cause statement. He believed he was protecting himself from a physical confrontation and could not take the chance of the male coming in, the document reads. Lester said he immediately called 911 after the shooting, according to the document. Police spoke with Ralph, the kid, the victim, while he was being treated at the hospital, where he told them his mother asked him to pick up his brothers at 111 Northeast Street, according to the document, which notes the actual address they were staying was 111th Northeast Terrace. So he had the address right. The home number was 111, northeast the direction, 115th, but he went to the terrace instead of the street. And if you look at the map, and I hate cities that do this, by the way, another terrible example of poor urban planning is where they have one street called a street and the next street called a terrace, and they're right after one another. They're right next to each other. It's ridiculous. But that's another bottle of wine. So the kid was told to go to a 1100, told to go to 1100 Northeast 115th Street, and he went to 1100 North 115th Terrace, one street over. When he arrived at the house on 115th Street, Ralph said he rang the doorbell and waited a while before a man eventually opened the door and immediately shot him in the head, causing him to fall, the document says. While the teenager was still on the ground, the man then fired again, shooting him in the arm, Ralph said. Ralph said he got up and somehow managed to run to keep from being shot. And he heard the man say, quote, "Don't come around here," the document says. He then went to multiple nearby homes asking for help and telling people to call police. The boy said he told police he did not pull on the door, according to the probable cause document. Responding officers also found the front storm door glass at Lester's home broken, with blood on the front porch and the driveway. A neighbor, who asked not to be identified, said she called 911 after Ralph came to her door bleeding. Since the shooter's location was unknown at the time, she was directed to stay inside her home by the emergency operator for her safety. She said she complied initially, then went outside with towels to help suppress the bleeding. Well, good for her. At least there is one decent person out there who took compassion and helped stop the bleeding of this kid. Quote, "This is somebody's child. I had to clean the blood off my door, off my railing. That was someone's child's blood," she said. "I'm a mom. This is not okay." Ralph is still traumatized from the ordeal. The family say he hopes to have a full recovery because Ralph is a young and strong person. Quote, "He and his family are just happy that he's alive and after being shot in the head," their attorney said. Ralph, the kid, is a section leader in a marching band who could often be found with an instrument in his hand and been looking forward to graduating from high school and visiting West Africa before starting college, according to a GoFundMe started by Ralph's aunt. The GoFundMe page, started to help the family with the medical expenses, has now garnered $2 million in donations by last night, and I hope it continues to grow. The attorney likened Ralph's shooting to the shootings of 17-year-old Martin in Florida and 25-year-old Aubrey in Georgia. Quote, "We continue to fight to say you can't profile and shoot our children just because you have this stand your ground law," Trump said. "16 years old, went to pick up his brothers, knocked on the wrong door, and was shot." One of the nice things about being a CBS News affiliate, and some of our stations pick up and use some of these feeds this morning, I want to play you a little bit. This is Gayle King interviewing the mother and I believe the attorney of the child. This is the child of the mother. Try that again, Todd. The mother of the child who was shot being interviewed by Gayle King this morning on CBS this morning.
Able to communicate, Cleo, with you all with no problem. You can walk and talk and all that stuff. He's able to communicate mostly when he feels like it, but mostly he just sits there and stares, and the buckets of tears just rolls down his eyes. You can see that he's just replaying the situation over and over again, and that just doesn't stop my tears either. Because when you see your kid just sits there and constantly the tears are just rolling from both sides of his eyes, there's nothing you can say to him.
Is Ralph able to communicate?
I can't even imagine that mother's pain. Having to watch her child sit there and cry endlessly because he's replaying this over and over and over in his head. He was being a good kid, following a directive from his parents to go pick up a sibling. He rang a doorbell and he stood there patiently. And some dude, white dude, after hearing a doorbell ring, the first reaction is to pick up a loaded gun. Again, is this where we're headed with the Republican Party? More guns make us more safe? We'll just have loaded guns lying around everywhere. In what civil society is this okay? We go to the phone line, 715-388-7155. Again, 715-388-7155. We go to the phones. Jeff Perry joins us this morning as our regular contributor. Jeff, what say you?
First, I'll answer your question with a question. In what other society does this even happen?
Right.
Besides ours. So a lot of what I saw online last night, I broke the cardinal rule again, and I went and I read the comment section of some of the stories.
Sure.
And what a lot of people are saying is, why are you bringing race into it? Why are you playing and which of course is ridiculous, but so I thought I'd answer that. With a little perspective that maybe some people haven't thought of.
Please do.
America has always been about race from the very beginning. From when the Puritans came in the 1600s to now, it has always been about race. And we are only 2 lifetimes removed from the Civil War. Think about that.
Right.
Somebody who was born in 1860 could have very easily lived to 1940. Somebody who was born in 1940 could very easily be alive now. Mm-hmm. These wounds are not healed. They're still very raw. And there are a large percentage of people out there who are all too willing, either consciously or unconsciously, to keep perpetrating this, to keep it going. And we have to find a way to stop it. And that way is not going to be any easier when we have 400 million guns out there.
Agreed. And thank you, by the way, for correcting the number. I think I said, Mr. Zommer is correct. I think I said 39 million, and one of the stories I read was 390 million. So I thank you. The actual number is somewhere, what's 10 million guns between friends, right?
Right. Right.
Know? But you're so right, Jeff. And for this guy to have a loaded pistol sitting next to his chair in his home in the middle of the day, I mean, is it that this guy feels so much fear he feels he has to? Or is it that he just believes in guns and he keeps a loaded gun just sitting around next to his chair? I don't get, I mean, you and I grew up in Richland Center. I hunted since the time I was 12. Well, I mean, I still occasionally turkey hunt. In no reality that I grew up in Richland County was keeping a loaded gun in the house okay. It just wasn't. My granddad would have whooped my ass if I left a loaded gun in the house at the farm.
Yeah, it was quite the opposite. You never kept a loaded gun.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't even imagine. I have to think that it's fears being stoked by cable news and conspiracy theories and online stuff. That's what I have to think. But I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know this guy.
But I think your point's well taken, Jeff. By all accounts, it wasn't like, and not to say it would be any more justifiable, But it wasn't like this guy had some sort of a handicap where he was blind and didn't know who was around him and somehow freaked out. And again, not that that would excuse it in and of itself, but by all accounts, this guy had all of his senses, all of his wits about him. And simply upon opening the door and seeing a black kid, his first reaction wasn't to say, "May I help you? What do you want?" No, his first reaction was seeing the color of a 16-year-old kid's skin and firing the trigger.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on, Jeff?
I don't know. I wish I did. I wish I had an answer, but I do not.
I have one answer for us. We did it last Tuesday. We have to keep doing it. Vote. Vote every frickin' time and vote every single Republican out. We have to take them out of the entire party, burn it down, and start over. Thank you, Mr. Perry. Back with more after this. This is the Todd Ball Show. Welcome back to the Todd Ball Show. It is now 9:50 on the Civic Media Radio Network. And join your phone calls, welcoming your phone calls like our friend Mr. Perry, 715-388-7155. Again, area code 715-388-7155. We'd love to hear from you. Do you keep a locked gun in your house? Do you? Do you keep your guns in your gun cabinet? Do you keep ammunition in them? Do you keep a loaded pistol beside your bed? 715-388-7155. Again, area code 715-388-7155.
Well, the way that gun laws are right now, he had every right to have a loaded pistol by his bed, and that is something that we can disagree with, but he's not in the wrong for doing that. Now, obviously, he's in the wrong for the way he handles his gun, just a bit, but...
No, you're right. You're right. There's no law. And quite frankly, I don't know if there should be a law that you can't have a loaded weapon in your home. But I'm saying, who does that? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. You understand? I mean, we're able to do a lot of things legally. We have a lot of freedom in this country. One of the great things about this country, we have freedom. But with freedom comes personal responsibility. And again, this is a plank from the old Republican Party. Personal responsibility. And Republicans love to pull that out when they talk about quote-unquote welfare. Well, personal responsibility, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You gotta take care of yourself. But they never want to talk about personal responsibility when it comes to taking care of their own weapons, when it comes to being responsible with what they've been given, their freedom. So sure, if I wanted to keep a loaded gun in my apartment, I could. I don't. But what is wrong with people? When the first reaction, when you open your door after the doorbell rings and you see someone that doesn't look like you, who is not threatening, who is not pounding on the door, who doesn't have a weapon, who is there to pick up his brothers and got the wrong house. Who are you? Who is this country? Who are we? That our first reaction is to pull the trigger. I just don't understand it. But I'm sure there are people out there that are like, oh, Todd, you're overreacting. You just said burn down the entire Republican Party. And I have to add, in today's atmosphere and time, I meant metaphorically. I don't mean we should go out and set firebombs to places. Not condoning violence or saying we should go there.
In fact, you're saying the opposite.
Exactly.
That we need to condemn violence, and that the current Republican Party is failing to do that in any way.
But we have to metaphorically burn it down in the sense that we have to vote at the ballot box. Because here's my frustration, you guys. I worked for Republicans who had the courage, the moxie, the chutzpah to go against the grain. I worked for a Republican, Scott Klug, who voted in favor of the 1994 assault weapons ban. Voted with the party probably 95% of the time, but voted for the assault weapons ban in 94. I've worked for a member who stood up and voted for education, was the only senator, Dale Schultz, to vote against Scott Walker's Act 10. So I'm only trying to hold the current Republicans to a standard by which used to exist. I'm not asking them to do something that's never been done before. I'm asking current Republicans to have some sort of moral compass, some sort of balls, because they're cowards. Howard Markline is a coward. Howard the coward. You show me one Republican in the state of Wisconsin today who will say, yes, I believe that it's time to entertain at least some sort of practical, reasonable gun control. Show me one Republican in the Assembly or the Senate who would say that today. I'm not talking about a ban on guns. I'm a hunter. I'm not even asking, I would like to, but I'm not even expecting a current Republican in Wisconsin to say, I'm in favor of an assault weapon ban. I'm asking for a current Republican in the Assembly or the Senate to say, yes, we need to entertain things like stricter red flag laws, longer waiting periods. Something reasonable, just one. They have all been co-opted by the Kool-Aid. It was so appropriate that Donald Trump's basically kickoff rally was, 15 miles from the Branch Davidians down in Waco, Texas. It is a cult. C-U-L-T, cult. And I'm sorry if that offends some of you, but it's true. And I'm saying that as someone who could have been caught up in a part of the cult. And I'm not saying I'm better than you or anybody else. I'm just saying that I had the fortitude to look inwardly, and I was brought up well enough by my parents and my grandparents to believe in the core values that I have. Not what a party told me, not what a religion told me, but what I had. And each one of us has to look internally and say to ourselves, do I want to keep voting for people like Howard Markline and Tony Kurtz and Todd Novak and Travis Tranel? Do I want to keep voting for people like this who don't listen to me, who will not give us answers, who close our campuses, who don't support education, who don't support safety and basic gun reform laws? Is that who I want to vote for? You have to ask yourself that. We all have to ask ourselves that. And as I've said before, I am not a card-carrying member of the Democrats either. I don't think that the Democratic Party has all the solutions. But I will say this. They believe in the foundational tenets of democracy, and they have voted that way. And until we save democracy, none of the other policy issues matter. Because if you don't have democracy, it doesn't work. And next hour, we're going to explore how autocracy is almost on the verge of taking over in this state, in this country. Back with more after this, including Luke Mathers on the other side of the hour. This is the Todd Albaugh Show, and this is the Civic Media Radio Network.